So today, you need a calculator. We're talking about scientific notation today. So let me grab a calculator here for you.
Here, oh, this good too.
Perfect. Boom. All right, and you need to have your notes out. So let's do scientific notation here. So this is the new stuff that I introed yesterday at the very end of class. It is section 4.7, which I know is really weird. It was one of the sections I skipped. So I skipped over section 4.7. It's called scientific notation.
What? Do you have any compasses and rulers we can borrow?
Who's sending you over here right now?
Harper Marty Griffin. That was probably like Mrs. Griffin.
How many do you need?
She said like 5, 6-ish. Yeah. And then like
We need 2 people in this class.
and then like 10 rulers.
Tell her I want these at the end of the day and stop sending people into my room. And you can give her a glare.
Okay. Thank you, word.
Oh.
Because I'm recording and now you're in the middle of it.
Oh.
She's done that every period today. I'm over it. So, scientific notation. The big thing is changing, it's a way of changing a large number to a smaller number, okay, in terms of length. So it's a way of making big numbers small, so it's easier to type in, because if you look at my calculators here, these, and you type in some numbers, my calculators have the luxury that I can type in kind of a larger number, something that's past 9 digits. But if I go to this if I go to this calculator,
You can't.
I can only go to 8, and it can't go past that like yours can. And this way I'm going to show you actually works on any type of calculator as long as it has the scientific keys on it. Because there are certain calculators that won't go past 9 digits. So it's a way of changing it. Or we can go backwards and change it from smaller back to big. So that's what we're going to look at today. So we're going to look at whole numbers, very large numbers, whole numbers. And the next thing is we're going to go to, instead of whole numbers, we're going to be going to decimals. And that's our tie-in. How can you write a decimal smaller? Okay. Now, there is one process we're going to be doing here. It is called proper scientific notation. Okay, so proper scientific notation. Alright, ready to go? Okay, so let's start with the first one here. Okay, so how this works, if I have a big number, I think one of the numbers I wrote down on the board yesterday was like 3 trillion.
Yeah.
Okay, alright, so let me write down that number. Alright, that's just 3 trillion. Okay, that's up to thousands, millions, billions, trillions. Yeah, so it's 3 trillion. Okay, it's a large number. How many number places is that? 6, 9, 12, it's 13 number places. 13 places, 13 digits across the board. Okay, that's a lot. Okay, it's big, right? I think one of the things was, just to give you an idea of how big that number is, the U.S. national debt. Okay, the U.S. national debt. Now, what national debt is money that the U.S. government owes other countries because of wartime funds. It's also money that the country is currently overspending for military operations plus employees and pensions and all that good stuff. The U.S. national debt is at $20 trillion. $20 trillion. Okay, that's what our national debt is. That's how much we are technically in the hole. Okay, 20 trillion. That's a lot of money. Okay, to give you an idea. It's what, 2018? 2018? Okay, 2018. If you were to go back all the way to when theoretically, when Christ was born, that was in the Gregorian calendar, that's 00, and you were to spend $1 million. Okay, that's a lot of money, right? $1 million bucks. But spend it every day.
Oh, jeez. Oh, I'm
every day for 365 days a year,
Oh, I can do that.
days per year, okay, in that time, in that terms, and back then, that was an astronomical amount of money, but spending that every single day, all the way up to 2018.
Yeah, no.
So,
I can do that.
every single day, right? You wouldn't be at $1 trillion yet.
What?
You'd only be at about $200 billion.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, wrap your head around that number.
I don't think my head's
Mr.
big
Ward?
enough for that number.
Okay. Right, thank you. You have an appointment.
Ah.
Oh, so, you can just leave the calculator, I'll pick it up here. Alright, so definitely watch the video later this weekend. It won't be on right now, but it'll be on later
It'll
this
be
weekend.
on when you get the time.
Yeah, it'll be on probably tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Alright, actually, maybe tonight. I have some time tonight. Alright, anyways, $1 million every day, 365 days a year for 2,000 years. You wouldn't be at $1 trillion. Not even $1 trillion, 200 billion, I think. Wrap your head around that. The US has spent 20 trillion. 20 trillion. That's spending, I think, if I did a calculation, it's almost spending $1 billion a day.
I'm gonna look at debt, national debt.
Yeah, I want you to look at that. In fact, yeah, bring that up, just so you can see it. I want to see that number. Okay, and I'm gonna, as you're doing that, I'm gonna make a quick calculations to see what 20 trillion is in that amount of time. So 20 trillion, that's billion, million. Okay, so 23, 3. Okay, so
Yeah.
million,
Gee.
thousand, 1, 2, 3, divided by 2018 years, divided by 365 days a year, it is spending, correction, not billion, it is spending $27 million a day.
Gee.
It's spending $27 million a day since year 0 on the Gregorian calendar for 2018 years.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
at 20 billion, so it's 27.
Okay, we're at $20 trillion. Now, wrap your head around this. Wrap your head around this. We weren't a country 1,000 years ago.
Yep.
We were only a country, we founded, the country itself about 1776. Okay, that's when, they signed the Declaration of Independence and we had, escaped, the control of Britain, okay, Great Britain. That's only about 300 years. So, in terms of money, we're spending a lot more.
Yeah, we hope if you minus 20 billion minus 2, that's how much I was at right now.
Jeez, 20 billion is just Iowa?
No, 18.
18 billion? Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, it's a lot, and that's per state, it can change. Okay, US debt is a scary thing. Now, this is a big number. On my calculators, it's easy to type in. I can't even type that number on this calculator. It doesn't even work. I can't go past it. In fact, I can only go to the million spots. Okay?
Oh my gosh. You might not want to look at Minnesota.
What's Minnesota at?
56 billion.
Yeah, that's big. That's a lot. Okay? It's a lot. Okay? Now, here's the idea. How you actually change this. You need to take the decimal, move it all the way to the front. Okay? And you got to put it behind the first number. Okay? So you're going to put the decimal behind the first number. Okay? Now, how this works is you're going to put a times 10 behind it. Now, here's what I want you to count, Sam. Eric, sorry. I want you to count back, how many spots did I just move the decimal from back here to up here? How many spots was that? Counting threes.
12.
12. That's the number you put here on the top of the 10. This, what you're looking at right here, this is called proper scientific notation. This is the part I'd like you to write down your notes. Scientific notation. This, on a calculator, means the same thing as 3 trillion. And all I had to do was type in about 4 numbers into my calculator. and I'll explain how to type it into yours, just so you're comfortable with that.
Oh,
Times 10 to the 12th. And it's not just because there's 12 zeros. It's not because of that. It's how many decimal places you moved it. Now when you write proper scientific notation, the decimal has to be behind the first number on the farthest left side. Okay? So here's the idea. On your calculator, so pick up your calculator here. In fact, let me use Sam's so I can show you how to do this. Okay?
yeah.
In fact, let me get the camera here. So to type in 3 trillion, here's what you do. You're going to type in 3.0, 3.0, okay, 3.0. Now you're going to hit the little second key, the blue one up in the corner, and then you're going to type in the little X to the -1 button. And what it should put on your screen is a little E, okay? That's the times 10. So on the board here, that's my times 10. And then you're going to type in 12 after it, so type in just 12. And hit enter. And it tells you 3 times 10 to the 12th power. That is this number right there.
Oh, wow.
That's that number. So that's 3 trillion written out in proper scientific notation, but your calculator can actually handle it. Now, if you noticed, your calculator chose not to write out 3 trillion all the way. It's just gonna show you that times 10 thing. But that's how you do it, okay? Questions on that part?
No.
Okay, perfect. So let me stop the camera here. Okay, so let's do another one here. But let's do one where we have just, maybe not a trillion, but let's do something smaller. So let's go with let's go with 25,670,000, and we'll just put some zeros after it. So 25,670,000. Okay, so the decimal's in the back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So where do you have to move it to put it in scientific notation? How far? What number do you need to put it behind?
The 25.
The 2, not just the 25. A lot of people always say that you have to put it in the comma. You have to put it behind the first number all the way to the left side, no matter what it is. You can chop off all the zeros if there's a bunch of zeros on it. We're going to put a times 10, and what power do you put on that 10? How many spots? How many spots do I move that decimal so it's behind the 2?
8.
9. Close. Has to be behind the 2 right here.
Oh, 7.
7, there you go. So 7. This is proper scientific notation. It means the same thing. So if you actually type in on your calculator, so talk me through how you type that in your calculator.
2.567
Okay.
times.
Now, then you just type in the little second key. You hit the little X to the -1 button, which will give you the little E on your screen, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then type in the power. What was your power?
7.
7. Hit equals, and it should tell you 25,670,007.
Yep.
There you go. Because that's your scientific button. It's called the EE. It's what does it stand for? It's an exponent, but it's on scientific notation. So, all right. Now, here's the weird thing. You said earlier, like, put the decimal behind the 5. You're technically not wrong. You could do that. Okay, if you wanted to put your decimal behind the 5, you could have done that. You could have wrote it like this. You could have wrote it 25.67 times 10, but instead of putting a 7 and you put your decimal here instead, how many spots over did you go? Not 7, but if you put the decimal behind the 5, 6, you put a 6 here. These mean the same thing. They're the same thing. The only problem is this isn't proper scientific notation. Okay? It'll give you the same answer, but to have it one further, to get right behind that first number, will shorten it up, it'll make the number smaller, and it puts the greatest power on it you can possibly do. Okay? Now, these are for big numbers, right? We're taking really large numbers. We can do this for really small numbers as well. So you can do this for a decimal. So we can do this for 0.001 .0038. We can do the same thing for a decimal. So you would have to move the decimal behind the first number on the left. So what's the first number on the left?
3.
So you put the decimal behind the 3. You put a times 10. Now on these, you put a negative number. Now how I know that, when you put a negative versus when you don't, is if they're really small decimals, you put a negative. So that's how I know it's a decimal. It's what I always say, it's less than $1. It has negative powers. If this is more than $1, you use positive powers. Now how many spots did I move it? So it's behind the 3. 3. Or 3. And that's scientific notation. So let's focus on how to type that in. And that'll be our last problem of the day. Okay? So let me get the camera here. Okay, so to type this in our calculator here, you're going to type in, on the last one, we're going to type in 3.8. Okay, oop, maybe I should turn it on, that'd be helpful. So clear, all right, 3.8. And now you're going to type in the little power thing, so you're going to hit second and hit the little X to the -1, so it puts a little E on the screen. And now we're going to type in the -3. So the negative button is right next to the decimal. It's not a minus sign, that's a negative sign, and then you put a 3. And when you hit enter, it tells you the number that we just did, which is that number right there.
Maybe.
Yeah, there. Got it?
Yep.
Okay, there you go.